stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first up is the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on it? Hearing none. Karen?
Yes.
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 Davis.
Yes.
All right, I'm just going to turn it over to Eric to...
Okay, so first under announcements and recognition, pleased to announce that the Whitewater High School String Ensemble will be performing a piece for the board this evening. This is a very history-making group, as they are the first string ensemble to participate in Solo Ensemble Festival ever for Whitewater High School, or for the school district. Under the direction of Patricia Nielsen, this group qualified for the state festival in their first attempt and received a 1 rating at the state festival held at UW Whitewater on April 30th. The ensemble is a wonderful collaboration and is comprised of resident children from WHS and our local homeschool families, and includes Alicia Paravotia, Grace Norton Enoch, Lydia Wiley-Deal, Sarah Maloney, Hannah Fuller, and Olivia Vanderplume. And they are accompanied by Betsy Larson. So with that, we'll turn it over to you.
Whitewater High School String Ensemble, and the piece we will be playing is the Golden Sonata, Movements 2 and 3, composed by Henry Purcell. Movement 2 is titled Adagio and means slowly. Movement 3 is titled Canzona and is lively and rhythmic. Purcell was an English composer in the Baroque period of music. He is considered one of the greatest English composers of all time.
And tonight they'll only be performing movement 3.
Yes.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
I don't know, Patricia, would you like to say anything on behalf of the ensemble?
Well, I think we're going to stay and hear Mrs. Hayes' award. I believe she's next, so we definitely want to stay for that. But it's been, these people have been very dedicated. We've been meeting Wednesdays at the middle school. We have, the middle school group meets from 3:30 to 4:30, and then these people come from 4:30 to 5:15. And the dedication has been terrific. I have to say that we did have a university Whitewater professor come and gave them a coaching session before our state competition, and she was very, very impressed with the group. And so it's been just really a wonderful thing, and I think they've really enjoyed it and have been excited about it, but I also really look forward to the leadership that they provide and the role models that they can show for our younger students. I think it's made a huge difference, and I'm so grateful for you all being here tonight.
Thank you.
So,
You want me to grab your things and
continue on.
Okay. The next announcement and recognition, we'd like to recognize Christine Hayes. She is the recent recipient of the 2016 Award for Excellence in Music Education. Ms. Hayes was awarded the 2016 Award for Music Education and was was nominated by her peers. This award is an annual celebration of an educator who displays leadership, passion, dedication, and innovation within the music classroom and within the community at large, and is designated for one outstanding music educator in southern Wisconsin. So in the nomination by parents, teaching colleagues, church members, and school administrators, Hayes was described as a powerhouse of creative energy who encourages children to express their feelings through music. A former colleague who nominated her wrote, "Mrs. Hayes leads by example by continuing to find ways to improve as an educator by constantly pursuing her own education." An example of that was she recently completed last summer a trip to Ghana in order to learn about that musical culture. So with that, we'd like to welcome and congratulate Mrs. Christine Hayes.
Thank you. Principal come up with this? Because you can't have a fine music program without the support of administration and the school board. So thank all of you, and thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll grab the piano stand. Thank you.
Oh, it falls off.
Oh, of course. How about that? No.
Sure.
Okay, our final announcement and recognition. Several years ago, the board decided to begin to recognize and acknowledge our high school graduating seniors who were enlisting in the military. This, again, started several years ago. Ted and Ann Kraus, who's both of their sons enlisted in the military, came to a board meeting and kind of raised the question, and it really caused the administration and the school board to think about, we celebrate lots of things, whether it's students going on to college, going on to work, but it was something that we really needed to begin to recognize was the sacrifice that students and their families make when they enlist in our armed forces. And so now, annually, the school board recognizes that contribution made by our graduating seniors, and we have them here today and their parents, and so we'd like to take that opportunity to congratulate them and thank them.
All right, so on behalf of the entire school district and the greater Whitewater community, we congratulate you and wish you safety as we extend our gratitude to the following students and their families who've decided to serve and protect our nation and its democracy. So if you're here, could you at least come up so we can say thank you in person? So Adrian Casillas, who's the son of Maria Garcia, John Cutchell, son of Bob and Shirley Cutchell, Caleb Gard, son of Larry and Shelley Gard, and Ivan Grant Hollenberger, the son of Terry Germanson. So I guess everyone's here but Grant. Yeah.
What would you like? You want it?
Hear what you're going to enlist. Can we hear from you what you're planning to enlist in and what your plan is?
So introduce yourself and
Introduce yourself,
what you're...
what you plan to do.
Hello, I'm Adrian Casillas, and I'll be doing working on both aviation and diesel mechanics and on both engines for aviation and diesel
Which branch?
in the Navy.
I'm John Cutchell. I'll be joining the Army, and I'll be doing airborne, so that means I'll be jumping out of planes.
I'm Caleb Gard, and I'm enlisted in the Marine Corps, and I'm going to be doing aviation mechanics.
All right, next up is student reports. Sophie Meyer is here, she's the 8th grade student council president.
Okay, my name is Sophie Mayer, and I'm the 8th grade student council president at the middle school. Today I have summaries of what all the school student councils have been up to. So, May at Lakeview has been filled with music, field trips, testing, and fun. The highlight would have to be that the school's Jump Rope for Heart event this year raised nearly $8,000 for the American Heart Association. Combine that with the Pennies for Patients and Caps for a Cure event, and Lakeview families have shared over $12,000 this year for the greater good of the community and for children everywhere. Washington hosted another very successful family fun night on Friday, May 6th. Families enjoyed bingo, games, raffles, a food court, and a silent auction. There was lots of laughter and plenty of smiles throughout the night. Link Student Council created and sold buttons to donate to the Feed My Starving Children organization. A team of Link's leadership students also helped pack the meals to feed over 160 children. Students in the Link Student Council also helped make decorations to welcome guests to their school. On May 16th, the 8th graders took a trip to the high school to spend a day with the lead dogs. The high schoolers showed the students around the school and answered their questions. Students at the high school have also recently participated in events such as the mock car crash and cancer salt challenge. At the middle school, Student Council decorated and co-organized the 8th grade recognition ceremony. The theme was Going for the Gold. On May 4th, we had 34 students participate in our end-of-the-year field trip to a Brewer game. The Student Council will be putting on a staff versus student basketball game this Friday, May 27th. This should be a fun event for both the students who are playing and watching. Many trips are scheduled for the end of the year, and there are activities planned for all 3 grade levels.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next is public comments. These are non-agenda items. Citizens may speak regarding items not on the agenda, but no school board action will be taken. Any issues raised may become part of a future agenda. So is there anyone here for public comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to special reports and or action. So Dr. Gibson, Dr. Jerome, this is the new district administrator profile.
Hello, board members and district administrator. I'm delighted to be able to talk to you tonight about the focus groups and the online survey that we conducted through School Exec Connect to try to help the community find their next district administrator. And let me say that I don't think I've ever been in a community that appreciated their district administrator as much as the one here. Eric, you are going to leave big shoes, and it's going to be very hard to fill those. So congratulations to you.
It's a great administrative team and a great board, so and a wonderful staff.
And they did say that about themselves, that They were reasonable, responsible, rational, and civil. And we've been talking about those qualities with the applicants. So I had the opportunity on May 12th and 17th to meet with administrators, support staff, some board members, parents, and community and business leaders, a number of representatives from the university, about 49 altogether in those 2 days. And what was said about the school district and the strengths was very consistent. They are looking for skills in their next leader that is a consensus builder, a culture builder, a bridge builder, someone with very high visibility, someone with integrity, a relationship builder, a collaborator, a very strong communicator, a person of vision, a team builder, someone with financial strength, acumen that understands the difficulties of Wisconsin finance and can navigate through that. A community leader who is very active in the community. Someone who's politically astute, who can represent Whitewater in Madison with the various representatives, as well as locally and throughout the state. Also wanting a strong, reflective leader, someone who's thoughtful and who can bring about goal setting and strategic planning for the long view of the district. And someone who can be an advocate for the district and the community. It almost is synonymous when you say school district, someone else says, and community. It's blended together as one. And that's a wonderful, very positive thing about this community. The key strengths for the Whitewater district that would attract someone to come here: a strong atmosphere of trust and respect and collaboration that is nurtured by the school administration, the school board, the community. Someone who embraces and celebrates diversity. These are key strengths of the district as well. A commitment to focusing resources on program offerings designed to meet the needs of all students and to get all of the students career and college ready. Strong focus on student learning while balancing the finances. So that goes hand in hand with a lot of the comments that they want someone who understands the finances but also wants to be able to balance that with the needs of the students and the growing needs of the students. Commitment to innovation in both the academic and non-academic areas of the district. And in every meeting, this was said: Whitewater is a great community. It's a university town, and that is an asset. It's a small town, and that is an asset. And it is easy access to the larger communities in Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison, also an asset. So clearly, this community is viewed as an asset. In addition, there is this deep pride, and it shows with the many partnerships, a number of them that are focused on student learning, that are community-driven. And that was one of the things that in the last focus group, the community business leaders talked about, is their efforts to improve literacy before students even get to the school district. And then there's the wellness group that is also attending to social and emotional and physical well-being of the students. Another thing that was listed is the supportive and involved parents. Proactive commitment to facility planning and referendum planning so that students have a learning environment needed to become college and career ready. And this goes along with the transparency piece that I think so many people appreciate about the board and Eric's work, is to be transparent and open and to help the community know what the school district needs and let the school district be part of the community's needs. So that kind of interaction has been much appreciated. Commitment to developing strong and lasting partnerships with the university is also something that came out in every single meeting. That is viewed as an asset, and they appreciate what is and would look forward to even more. Now the challenges, and they're considerable. Of course, the district is facing building and operational referenda in 16 and 18, continuing to raise student achievement and prepare all students to be college and career ready, understanding and working effectively in a post-Act 10 environment. And that's significantly different than the pre. The changing community and school demographics, which has led a growing number of students with increasing economic and educational challenges. And one of the people in our business focus group said that they believed that diversity was both an asset and a high cost in terms of the necessity of addressing a variety of needs. Increasingly limited fiscal resources impacting the ability to address the growing educational, social, and emotional needs of an increasingly diverse student body. Collaborating and building mutual trust and unifying perspective. They recognized that it exists and they want it to continue and view that as a challenge. Communicating effectively with all the stakeholders. Providing sustaining effective professional growth so that all students can meet, all their needs can be met. And another thing that came up in every group is attracting and retaining high-quality staff. Then that was about 50 people in the focus groups, and then we have a 150 online survey. So, Matt.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm so glad that Sarah did the focus groups. I wasn't available to do them, and it's her real strength to do them because you get so much substance from focus groups. Balancing that, the online survey is an opportunity for everyone that doesn't have the time to come to the focus groups, and maybe you can generalize a little bit more from an online survey. You might think we're just doing this to recruit candidates. That's one of the reasons, but there are two other reasons that we do this. One is it's good for people to release their input because you carry around things with you. I think if you have an opinion on the school district, for example, or an opinion on the next superintendent and what he or she should be, it gives people an opportunity to voice that opinion. That's implicit in having a community in a school district in which, even though you think you might know what someone is going to say, to not ask them it's a void, because people enjoy consulting, enjoy just weighing in on what's there. It's a value to you, it's a value to us, but it's also a value for them to share. And then there's another piece of it besides the recruiting, and that's what happens during the first 90 days, what happens during the first year. In a lot of ways, this is a very current read of the district as to what people would think about it all the way through and the greatest needs and greatest challenges. So it helps with the prioritization process. So those are the reasons that we do it. Sarah commented on the number of people that participated. I don't need to comment on the age range of that, but it was broad. But the greatest strengths of the district in the survey very much reinforced the focus group. So you have like a belt and suspenders. You have two different sources of data, but if they corroborate with one another, it's good. So dedicated and highly competent staff, those are the people that provide the value. And they were listed, they were recognized, and that's good. And you recognized one of them tonight with the orchestral music. Strong community pride. Can you imagine what a school district would be like if it didn't have strong community pride? But there are districts like that that don't, because things have gone poorly and you have to take pride in so little. And you have so much to take pride in here, and that was evident on the looks of people's faces tonight as students were performing or as this young lady was reading and people were snapping their cameras over there. There's a good deal of encouragement and affirmation that occurs here, and in that culture you can also be very constructively, I'm going to say critical, to improve things, but it's hard to do that and succeed with that if you don't have that culture of pride and affirmation to start that.
Co-curricular opportunities, a lot of opportunities here for all different kinds of things, again illustrated, and supported and involved parents. Those are the greatest strengths, the top 4. The challenges, some of them are different and some of them are the same. So understanding and supported diversity in the district, we've asked, is diversity a good thing? And the answer has been yes, but what the focus group said is it also is more resources for diversity. You don't really have a choice there. It's just something that is here. So to embrace it makes a lot of sense. The quality of facilities, again, was reinforced in this, the need for facilities. Improvement, renovation, whatever that looks like. I know that you have plans in place for that. Now, support and involvement of parents was listed both as a greatest strength and a greatest challenge. Well, that would be no secret either, I don't think, because many people are very involved, and others, I'm thinking, would like to be more involved. But as I've studied diversity and as I've even discovered poverty, it's not that people don't want to come and be involved, but sometimes they don't have the same means to do that, and sometimes they don't feel as comfortable doing that. I put myself into the situation, if my student's doing really well, I want to be there and hear about that all the time. But if my student struggles to find a peer group or to find belonging or to find success, it's hard for me to confront that all the time. Plus, I might not be available to do that. So hence the extra effort that goes into that. 3 goals for the new district administrator: to attract and retain high-quality staff, because that's the human capital, that's what produces what you have here. To maintain programs for all students for the college readiness or career readiness. And that's a hard thing too, because that's a counterpoint with the finances that you have. Of course you want to maintain all programs, you even want to add them, but how do you fund that? And district administrator is a big part of providing that balance, but also maintaining the programs, finding a way to do that. The skills that are most important: being visible in the schools and the community. So being visible means that you do a lot of work when you're not visible, so it implies a good deal of commitment. It also implies you're a good listener and a good speaker as well, an introvert and an extrovert kind of quality, that you really love people, but also you love ideas all the way through. Forward-thinking, innovative, and creative. So this gets at the idea, if you want a collaborative person, you want a people person, but if it's up to that person alone is forward-thinking, innovative, and creative. Why is that? To bring out the best in others. Because the district administrator, and all due respect to Eric or anyone else, you're a developer of people, because there's only so much that you can do by yourself. So you develop and equip other people. And so it's hard to lead someone to a place you haven't been yourself as well. So that's that piece. What's implicit in that is being a learner, that you're just continually curious about things. And then an effective spokesperson or face of the district. In other words, you add value just because of how you deal with people, how you deal with issues, building the integrity. The 3 personal characteristics, and I'll finish with this: approachable and listen. So to be approachable means being a little bit vulnerable, and to be a little bit vulnerable, you have to be pretty strong. Because if you're pretty weak, why would you be vulnerable? Because you could be blown over. But if you have a lot of internal strength, you'd be incredibly vulnerable. You can be approachable, you can listen, and become stronger. To build a team and then to bring out the success in others, I just illustrated that a moment ago. And then excellent communication skills and all forms of communication. So I had a typo, for example, in one of my documents tonight. Someone affirmed me that the document was pretty good, but you know what? There was a typo there. That is so good. I won't identify who did that, but excellent communication skills are wonderful, and illustration and all of that. And you've got a good role model in that with Eric, and want to continue that. So I'll just conclude there, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for someone who walks on water, but's also vulnerable enough to receive all kinds of input. So thank you very much for the opportunity to do this.
And I understand that this is going to be posted online tomorrow on the website. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next is competency-based education. Mr. Parker, are you here alone?
I am. Ms. Colcott had an event with your daughter. Could you pull up the PowerPoint for me? So back in 2010 and 11, I came to the board and I asked for permission to start a GED 02 program, an alternative-based education program for students who did not have the credits to graduate in a normal fashion. That program has been extremely successful, which I'll highlight a little bit, but we're to a point where we are looking to expand our alternative ed program to include competency-based education. So what does that mean? Well, here's the whole law for alternative ed. If you read down in the red part at the bottom here, the school board may also grant a diploma to pupils who have not completed the requirements enrolled in the alternative program, and the school board determines the pupil has demonstrated a level of proficiency in the subjects listed, the core areas: English, math, science, and social studies. Right now, we do that through the GED tests. So in the GED program, our team, Mrs. Prokop, prepares the kids for the test. They go and they pass the tests, and then they get a Whitewater High School diploma. The problem we're running into right now, the students that we are dealing with are between 17 and 20 years old. They're habitual truants, dropouts, school-age parents, or adjudicated youth. And we're starting to get some students that cannot meet the minimum reading proficiency to get into the GED program. If I go to MATC or Gateway to get my GED, I only have to read at about a 5th grade level. But to do it at Whitewater High School, I need a 9th grade level. And where we're starting to run into some problems, we're getting transfer students from other districts who come to us junior or senior year, even sometimes 19 years old, 20 years old, and we don't have time to get their reading level from a 4th, 5th, 6th grade level up to a 9th grade level, and then start preparing them for the tests. So that's why we started investigating other alternatives, and many districts use competency-based education. The 3 districts we visited, Watertown, Delavan, and Edgerton, all have similar programs. Delavan actually has gotten rid of their GED program and sticks solely with the competency-based. I'll explain a little bit more in just a second. So, who are these kids? They have to be 17. They have to be at least a year behind their graduating class. Obviously, they don't need the reading level. They do for GED. And then they have to demonstrate a desire to be in school and be self-motivated. There's a 90% attendance rate, otherwise we don't allow them into the program. So how does it work? The student comes to school at noon, leaves at 3:15. They have 11 components of the program that they have to meet. They have to pass American government, health, employability schools, and have skills and have a job, the senior portfolio, and then the 4 core areas. I'll come back to that in just a second. Civics test, which is new for everybody to pass, career exploration, and a financial literacy piece. The 4 core areas is where we're looking to expand our competency-based program. So for instance, kid comes to us from School Z, we'll say, and they're only reading at a 5th grade level, and they're 19 years old, and they want to get a high school diploma. We look at their transcript, and they might have 14 credits. And they may have enough credits in, let's say, social studies and science, but not enough credits in math and English. So what we would do is we would look at the standards, the Common Core state standards in English 9, 10, 11, and 12, and the student would have to demonstrate through projects, different classwork tests, that they have the same knowledge that the kids who were sitting in the regular classroom for 4 years could demonstrate. And if you go into these competency classrooms, you'll see there's big, long checklists for each kid. And each time they complete a standard and demonstrate proficiency, they get the standard checked off. Once they have all the standards checked off in that core area, then they would receive credit by competency for that core subject. English, again, English, math, science, or social studies. Now, the student could come to us and maybe only have 2 credits of math, but would sit in a classroom and finish their 3rd credit. It would all depend on the student, how many credits they have, their age, how fast we can get them through. And we would only use this competency program for kids that we can't get to the 9th grade reading level in time. So in addition to the 11 components, they must have the 90% attendance rate, and then when they graduate, they would get a Whitewater High School diploma. Since 2010-11, our GED program has just been outstanding. Number of dropouts has gone down. We've decreased the number of students we send to those technical schools, Challenge Academy and opportunities. There's been a huge cost savings to the district, and it meets the needs of our at-risk population, which, as you heard just from the presentation before, is increasing, even at the high school. We've had a 100% success rate. Every kid that we have entered into our GED program since 2010 has graduated. And over 98% of the students that we've identified, the 2% that didn't, we didn't allow into the program because of attendance. We sit down, we have that conversation with them and their parents, and it's still a choice of theirs. And unfortunately, a few students have decided not to. And why has it been so successful? Excuse me. Mrs. Malin, our previous alt ed teacher, was outstanding. Mrs. Prokop, our current one, is outstanding. They make relationships with these kids. They work very, very hard to get them through the process and to pass all of those tests. And then our screening process is very good. We look for only motivated students that want to get a high school diploma and are willing to put in the time. And then I think accessibility is the huge one. It's right there at our facility. If we didn't have this program, then kids would have to go to Gateway, MATC, Blackhawk, and we have a lot of kids that just don't have transportation and don't have the means to do so. So it's been very, very powerful for those kids. Can I answer any questions?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry I went so fast.
So this is not to get rid of the GED program that you have now.
Not
This
at all.
is for the people who can't get into it.
Can't get into it.
And will they be integrated in classrooms if that's?
If it's part, yes.
Okay.
Their whole program would be individualized based upon how many credits they have, where they came from, etc. I can give you a perfect example right now. We had a young man walk into our building in February. He's 19 years old. He's a dropout of Milwaukee. He works and lives in our community, and he wants to get a high school diploma. And his reading level's too low, but he does have like 12, 13 credits from his previous schooling. And so Mrs. Prokop would sit down and just look at English, math, science, social studies, make sure it has American government and health. Some would do online. Some might do competency. Some might have enough credits, and see where it goes.
So Mrs. Prokop is the one who will be working with the students?
Absolutely. Yep.
How many students do we have, like, in any given year?
In any given year, between 5 and 15.
And what do you predict, how many then will go into the new program?
We predict for next year 3. 2 transfers and 1 special needs student who we just recently tested, and the reading levels really, really low. She'll be a senior next year.
Now, just a quick overview of what I saw. The main difference is the reading ability.
We cannot send them to MATC to take a GED test unless they have that 9th grade reading level. We test them before they get into the program, and if they're not at that level, Mrs. Jaskey works with them, or they go into one of our strategic literacy classes, and we try and get their reading level up to a 9th grade, and then we can enter them into the program. The problem is, studies will show, and the data doesn't lie, If you're 18 years old and you're only at a 3rd to 5th grade reading level, we can't get you to a 9th grade reading level in 2 years and have you study for all 4 tests and pass those tests. It's virtually impossible.
They would be receiving the same GED diploma or the same, or is there
Mm-hmm.
a different asterisk on it?
No, it's the same diploma. The you wouldn't be able to get into a 4-year college with it. It says on it that it is passed by competencies. It's the same thing that says it's passed by competency for the GED program as well. But it is a high school diploma, and they are allowed to go straight in. Tech schools will accept it, and they could go to tech school for 2 years and then transfer if they're successful enough.
So there is a phrase on that that does identify it different than a
Yes.
You had mentioned something about a job that's required.
Yes.
And is that job also competency?
That's job in the community. That's a work piece. It could be. It could be McDonald's. It could be Generac, Walmart. It could be a local carpenter.
This is kind of a far out thing as far as the job is concerned. Would they be doing that in summer?
They could.
And would that count as part of summer learning?
It could. Yeah.
Because it might be an account for us.
If we needed a student to get an extra half credit or something like that, and they haven't had a work study, then yes, we would do that. It just happens to be part of the alternative education requirements by the state of Wisconsin that they get job skills.
Is there anything in our policy that has to be changed going with this, or is the policy sufficient?
The policy, I believe, is sufficient. Mhm.
Yeah, the current policy does allow for the GED option 2, and it basically says that the administration has some leeway in how to grant that.
It's broad.
It's broad.
I just want to make sure.
Any
So-
other question?
To approve it, all you're doing is you're going to start accepting people students into this program. But nothing really is going to change at the school except.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I guess somehow I missed it. These are still 99% of them are kids who have started or are going through the Whitewater district. We're not talking about bringing kids in from elsewhere.
We're not bringing in kids, no.
These are strictly ours.
These are strictly our students within our boundaries, yes.
But they can transfer it.
They could. It could be an open enrollment student. There are other districts in our area that have it, so to come here just for that doesn't necessarily make sense. Fort has their own program.
The purpose is
Delavan.
for a Whitewater-based student.
Yes.
In some of the instances that Mr. Parker's talking about, we'll get a late move-in or a student who moves in after their junior year who's credit deficient. So it may not be somebody who's been with us for all of their academic career, but it could be.
Could be.
I'll make a motion the board approve the competency-based education CBE equivalency program for Whitewater High School as an alternative graduation model beginning the 2016-17 school year.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any other questions, discussion? Karen?
Gray?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Torres? Yes. Leonard?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Jen?
Yes.
Thank you, Doug. Next up is the Leader in Me grant approval. Mary Kyler and Associates.
All right, we would be the associate. I'm Justin Stewart. I'm a 4-5 teacher at Lynx. With me is Melvin Jewett, parent and Governance Council president, and you, of course, all know Mary. About a year ago, you afforded me the opportunity to stand before you and share with you kind of what the Leader in Me is. Most of you, Mr. Stewart, I think you're new to the board, so Okay, well then I'll save you the what. Hopefully some of you did take that literature and you had a chance to read through it and maybe been following some of the conversations that have been happening around the community. I want to take the time today to share with you the why. It's been very clear through all the presentations today, starting with the strings ensemble, our kids who are going out to the military, and even the people who spoke about the district administrator search. There was some qualities, some things that resonated in all of those things. Words like leadership and role model and responsibility and integrity. Those are things you saw in every single one of those presentations. Now, I want to be clear, we're not trying to make every student become a district administrator. It's not that at all. Right? We hope to have them dream and aspire to do great things, but we want them to become the best that they can be. We've gone on a path, and Melvin and Mary will mention a little bit later about the last 5 years of our charter. And we've now moved and are transitioning into what we feel is the best fit for Lynx. What I'm most excited about and the why is that it's really an investment in the people who get to see and interact with our kids on a daily basis. We get to live and model the things that we feel are going to be successful. Kelly, and a lot of her emails she sends out are about how research states that the most important thing is a highly qualified teacher. Take out all the technology, all the things that I love to use, but really it's about the person standing in the room. And we feel like this is our way to answer that bell. So Melvin and Mary are going to get kind of more into the logistics. You may have some questions for me more about it, but we've done a lot of really cool things this school year. We've done them kind of on our own. We have a lot of people. I asked for a team of what we're calling the Lighthouse team, and 16 people volunteered to be on that. They get nothing out of it other than the fact that they get a chance to help us move in a direction that we think is going to help us be successful. If any of you attended the Stuart Stotts concert, that's one example of somebody, Mrs. Hayes and Stuart, working with our kids to find a way to, through music, teach these habits. And then we have the ability to now use those over and over again to reiterate the things that we feel are important. That's just one of the many things that we've done. In fact, this Wednesday we have our second annual leadership night. I encourage you all to come. It's going to be a celebration of our kids, a celebration of where we've been, where we'd like to go. You're going to see student work. You're going to see different activities that we think help exemplify the different habits that we, again, these 7 habits. But again, it's this Wednesday from 3:15 to 5 at Lynx. So if you have 30 minutes or an hour and 45. If you have a child that will be participating, I hope to see you there. It's mandatory. Okay. Even better. Okay. All right. So I'm really excited to say that we are definitely prepared to take our next step. Mary and Melvin will talk about what that looks like. But in terms of somebody who's been able to do this in my classroom for many years, I'm excited to see what the formal training will look like and how we can continue to develop. Our kids are definitely showing progress. They are more than a data point. I know we like to talk about data on test scores and things like that. There is an academic piece to the Leader in Me, but there's a leadership and a culture piece. And those are the things that you cannot see on a test score. The things that you measure when you meet someone for the first time. You walk into a building, you come into a school. The things that you can feel are what's important to us. So that's our why, and how we're going to get there is going to be something that Mary will share with you a little bit. So again, the program, the idea, the philosophy is the Leader in Me. It's based on Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I think we're all working our way towards effectiveness. Some of us are better than others, but again, I think that we can all use a little reflectivity, which is one of the things that, of course, was something that came of those district administrative searches. So thank you for giving me the time to speak. I believe Mary is going to go next.
So 2 things in moving our school forward and looking kind of at the culture development. The first one was our staff. We had to look at was staff engaged in this process, and did we think there was a need? When we first surveyed our staff, when we started some book studies on the Leader in Me, we had 90% buy-in. The 10%, when we looked at that, the 10% said it was prohibitive because of the cost. There's a lot of training that goes into this program. It's a 5-year. And so we knew that cost was the one reason why staff was a little bit reluctant to say that we could move forward. Which brings us to where we are today. The charter is expiring. And so instead of thinking about something ending, we wanted to think about possibilities for Lynx. And part of that was the personalized learning that we really believed in, the inquiry-based, all of the things that were meaningful to relationships to Lynx. And therefore, we started investigating this Leader in Me, and it could support all of those things that we wanted to see continue. So we also engaged our parents. Melvin helped create a letter with us, our governance council, to send out to our parents about the charter expiring and to talk to them about the Leader in Me program. And for the most part, we have heard nothing but support of this program. As Justin alluded to, we've had a couple leadership nights where parents were invited to engage with the students and see what we were already doing. And then to hear the support from our parents, we asked for survey feedback back, and our parents were very supportive of that. So back to the cost piece being prohibitive to us moving forward, there is a leader.org, which is a leadership foundation, that will support schools in the process of becoming the Leader in Me. If we receive this grant and move forward, we would become the first Leader in Me school in Wisconsin. The grant is through the leadership.org, the leader.org, and you have to be, surprisingly enough, Panda Express is a supporter of this grant. You have to be within 16 miles of a Panda Express, and luckily for Lynx, 15. Luckily for Lynx, Panda moved out of the mall into a little bit closer, and we came in at
14.7 miles.
So we qualified to apply for the grant. I did have Casey, who served as kind of a liaison to our governance council, look at that draft a while back. We applied for the grant and we received the grant, and that's why we stand before you to get that stamp of approval to move forward with the grant. The grant in and of itself is worth over a 5-year time span of $57,000. Lynx has a commitment of annually for 5 years contributing $6,100. That's the sustainment core piece, which brings in on-site coaching to us and allows our teachers to see community resources of schools as well. We've already talked about the funding, and I don't know if, Melvin, you want to speak to that piece of supplying that for the 5 years. We have buy-in already from some businesses that have been supportive of that. And then also our FTP and our governance council is taking on the role of supporting that, should you approve that grant piece.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you guys for, I have been a part of the governance council since the beginning of the charter school. And I really appreciate the effort and energy that you guys have spent. And it's always been a collaborative effort, us working together to really try to do what's in the best interest of our kids, to put them in a position where we can really engage, educate, and activate. And I was just sitting here thinking about when Matt and Sarah was talking about the quality that we're looking for in the replacement of Eric, and just commend you for the job you have done. Leadership, responsibility, accountability, problem solving, adaptability, communication, initiative, and self-directive, creativity, cross-cultural skills, and teamwork. Those are the qualities that we can start instilling in our kids at Lynx from kindergarten. So you think about what these individuals was going to look like if they go from 5 years of nonstop learning the habits. And these are principles that are timeless. I always think that I was telling my daughter the other day, when Melanie was in 2nd grade, I taught my kids the 7 habits. And she used to consistently come home every day and say, you need to teach all the kids at school the 7 habits and everything will be fine. And so when we found out that we was moving in this path, I was like, congratulations, Melanie, guess what? The kids will have an opportunity to learn the 7 habits. Because this is something you think about, how to make a win-win. You think about the bullying and those other things that happen. It would be less likely to happen if these kids are able to seek first to understand and looking at things from a different perspective. And I know it's really centered on preparing an individual to help them be responsible for taking responsibility of their own action, making sure the kids, it was great seeing the young kids talking about learning and being proactive, talking about making, sharpening saw, talking about do their homework first before they play. And I was like, these are little kids, but they're learning those, and that's a great thing about it. And now as a parent, I always want to see my kids be self-reliant, self-determined, and self-confident. And as parents, we're not sure how do you do that. I think this is something that we can do. And I know as a governance counselor, once the charter school ends, we still will serve in a capacity as an advisory board. So our role would still be to give the teachers and staff what they need to be successful. So when you start looking at funding opportunity, we will be there to try to, help, use our connection we have with business leaders to try to help develop partnership to really to give the teachers the skills they need to continue to work with the kids. And I'm really excited about it because I think this is something that I know that I work in the criminal justice system, where when I think about some of the skills that these kids are learning, the kids that I work with in the criminal justice system, they don't have these. And I talk to them all the time about these type of things. And I think we have an opportunity to be the first in the state of Wisconsin. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And I just want to commend you guys because you guys have always did everything. You have gave us an opportunity to really try to do things to really engage our kids and give us kids the best education possible.
Questions, I guess? The last, oh, sorry, you go ahead first.
It's been a wonderful thing what you guys have brought to Link, so thank you. I know, Mr. Stewart, you've worked exceptionally hard, and Mary, you too. And it's just, I mean, at home, I'm getting to the language back, and that's not so pleasant sometimes, but I really appreciate it. So, thank you. Mommy, think win-win. I'm right, but it's okay. So
It's a win-win. I'm right.
I know, right, yeah. So thank you very much for all your work. I think it's going to pay off. And I'm really glad we're that close to a Panda Express.
Eat there. And then the last thing to think about for the board is our name. We are Lincoln Inquiry Charter School, so we have to kind of think about how to move forward with eliminating charter because the charter is expiring. Certainly there's been different discussions, and as I spoke to Eric a little bit about that, does it just go back to Lincoln? Do we suggest a name that meets the acronym? Because thrown around from our staff has been Lincoln Inquiry Community School to just be able to keep the acronym, or per board policy, would it just return back to Lincoln? So that's another piece besides the action on the grant.
And that's something to consider as we move forward, because with the agreement ending.
End of this year. Charter is up at the end of this.
With the agreement expiring, that's what was tied to the name. That's what.
And that's what the acronym was.
Right. So, if you look at our policy about facility naming, you would have to consider accepting a recommendation. That's my perspective. If you were going to move forward with continuing with links or some variation of that.
Yep, and my view is that we would certainly consider anything you thought was appropriate. I mean, it's your school, so,
Well, careful, because we might hear a
Kyler Academy here. That was a joke.
We will follow our policies, but
you may want to pump the brakes on that.
It's not just the school.
To change all the T-shirts then.
It's not just the school, it's the community.
That's right.
Much so.
You don't like Kyler Academy, Mr.
Pardon?
Stewart? I thought we were.
Kyler Academy?
So that's probably something that you should consider researching and bringing back.
So what's the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to accept the I Am Leader Foundation grant for 5 years for the purpose of successful implementation of the Leader in Me through training the Link staff over 5 years and providing the necessary student, teacher, and school materials.
Second. It was a tie, but is there any further discussion? All right, Karen?
Yes.
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 I'll say congratulations, because I know it was not an insignificant amount of work, so thank you. Leadership team.
Okay. So we have a portion of our leadership team here this evening to, as the school year is coming to a close, give an update on their building goals. We'll start with Mr. Grzinski, Washington Elementary.
All righty. Well, good evening. Going to share our building goals and I guess our progress to reaching those. But before I do this year's, I do want to talk a little bit about last year's because they led into this year. So last year our building goals, we use MAP for our data. Last year our building goals were pretty robust. We wanted 100% of our grade levels to meet or exceed growth targets in the areas of literacy and math. And we were able to accomplish that all grade levels last year. So when we were setting up strategic planning this year in August, we had our leadership team. We obviously weren't going to use the same goal. We decided to get maybe even a little more crazy and even get more challenging and really try to try to push ourselves to reach I guess a new level. And so you'll notice that our first goal here, we decided to stay with MAP, but we decided to go into subgroups now. We decided to go and, as you see, goal 1, after reviewing our subgroup MAP data, it was found a gap continues to exist between special ed students and their regular education peers who on average attain 50 to 60% meeting or exceeding growth targets. Now, that 50 to 60%, on upwards of 60% is what Washington currently does. The national norm is 50%. So we decided to stick with that 60%. So therefore, 60% of Washington special education students at each grade level will meet or exceed literacy growth targets as measured by MAP during the 2015-16 school year. And the little footnote right there, all disabilities included in this goal, speech language, EBD, SLD, etc. So we knew it was a very robust goal, and we decided to go for it anyway, and we did pretty well. First grade, and these are all very, very small cell sizes, and I want to make sure that that's known. Obviously, it fluctuates between the grade levels, but the cell sizes can be as small as 5 students. So obviously, one way or the other, depending upon if they make that growth target, can sway that percentage significantly. So in first grade, we had 12.5% make that goal. 76% of our second grade special ed students met or attained that growth goal. 100% for third grade, fourth grade 50%, and fifth grade 35%. And if you notice though, in the ones that didn't reach that goal of 60%, again, which was a pretty robust goal, we had students though in the special education subgroup that were all still at benchmark for that grade level or at the same level as their regular education peers. So if they didn't reach that goal, there are some students even in that benchmark or even at the grade level that were at the benchmark that their regular education peers were at as well. So that was our special education goal or subgroup goal. And goal 2, if Karen could move out to that second one. Same look, but for our ELL population. So the same goal, however, we looked at our ELL students in this particular case. 56% for our regular education peers, so we shot for 60% of our Washington ELL students meeting or exceeding literacy growth targets. You'll see there. First grade 38%, second grade 79%, third grade 87%, fourth grade 65%, and fifth grade 47%. And again, those two grade levels that did not make that growth target, we still had some students that were at the benchmark that was considered right on target for their grade level. So we knew it was a really, really robust goal. We wouldn't have changed it, quite honestly. It's what we thought we should do, and we're still excited for how well they've done. You know, we also we decided to go with MAP instead. We didn't choose the state test. You know, the board exam this year. Last year was the Badger exam. We received that school recognition award basically for this basically same scenario. Is one of the reasons that we received the school recognition award from the state from our Badger exam. We'll see if we pull it off 2 years in a row. When it comes time to forward, I guess we'll find out if we get another Wisconsin plaque or not. Regardless, we drilled down into MAP. We use that across the district, obviously. Shot for the moon and still reached pretty high levels. And we're pretty excited about how well we did overall as a school for our 2 subgroups. So here's the goals. Any questions?
Well done.
Thank you.
At the high school, focused on reading and math. They are the gateway to achievement in other courses at the high school, standardized test scores, and closing gaps. Our first building goal, focused on freshmen. We took the lowest readers as determined by our progress monitoring software called Star Reading, about 40 freshmen. And approximately, or not approximately, 31 of the 40 have already met their goal. We have a hope of a few more by year's end. The only true barrier to success for these kids is really lack of effort and motivation. Our teachers have done a great job of motivating these learners. Many of them are in a subgroup of some sort and have not had a lot of success in academics before, and they've worked really, really hard with them this year to attain their reading goal. And then our second goal focused on our freshmen and sophomores who are enrolled in Algebra 1. The goal was to get approximately 80 kids to achieve 70% or more on their ALEX topics. ALEX is a computer-based software program that complements classroom instruction and is designed to close achievement gaps. And as you can see in the first quarter, we did very, very well. Part of the reason for that is the concepts are a little easier at that time, and our teachers used a little bit more class time to help them get started and learn the program. They were pretty excited about it at the time. Second quarter, you can see the excitement starts to wear off a little bit, and the homework in other classes starts to raise up, and they don't spend as much time outside of school. Third quarter was even worse. And then fourth quarter, we hit one out of the park, and they're continuing to work really hard, and the reason is it's testing season. So when the juniors are testing on ACT, our freshmen and sophomores have extra time to work on ALEX, and we bring all of our math teachers into those rooms to support those kids on ALEX. And then when the sophomores were taking the forward exam, the freshmen had extra ALEX time. So it's all about time. It's all about, how much do you push them, how much do you assign, and our kids have done a really good job and responded fourth quarter. Any questions? Thank you.
I don't know if we've done our due diligence in informing you guys on how our departments and our buildings come up with these building goals and department goals. Are you aware of the process that we undergo in doing that? Every August, we get together with our building leadership teams, and we have a data dig day. We call it a data retreat. It used to be at Cravath Lake, now we have it at the middle school, and we dig into our map data and our state assessment data, whichever flavor of the year that is, and we look at our strengths and our challenges and the subgroups within each of the content areas, and then our building leadership teams and our departments decide where our focus should be for the upcoming year. Based on the building goals that you see, our buildings create their student learning or their school learning outcomes, and then our teachers, when they are making their individual goals, create their student learning outcomes based on the building and department goals of the school district. It all generates from that data dig from our building leadership teams that we have in August. It's a day well spent. It is a big day. We have a lot of goals in the curriculum department. We had a lot of initiatives going on this past year. We did an educator for Spanish for Educators program. We are setting the foundation for distinctions that teachers can advance on the pay scale for, and getting some coursework in place for teachers to advance their own learning that way. We established this past year some innovative teaching grants for teachers that the Curriculum Planning Council it's just a fledgling grant program that we're starting, but we did a lot of those. The two grants that I documented were really about transparency, about what's happening in the district and what's happening in our content area, curricular areas. The first goal is about curricular brochures at each grade level, and then a booklet at the middle school, and that mirrors the high school's course booklet. Each of these brochures defines the philosophy of the content area within, and then gives the details of what is taught within each content area. It's about transparency of what is taught when, and the reason we chose particular routes in what we're teaching. Why does our handwriting look like this? What is the philosophy behind everyday math expressions? It was our goal to have this done this spring. Having said that, as our content teams, we met twice this school year for 2 full half days and talked about our practice within each of these content areas that we're teaching. And our teachers documented what they felt strongly could be documented and asked for more time to finish those pieces that weren't. And we honored their request. Some of the content areas do need more time. For example, we underwent a science exploration at the elementary level this year, and both of the science programs that we piloted failed us. And we did not opt to adopt either of the science programs. So we won't be documenting science in our curriculum brochures. We will be talking about what it is that we feel is important to teach within science and what it is that the units and contents that are aligned to the standards that we will cover, but it won't be based within a curricular program until we do make that next step, which will be our continued work for next year for that program. So we do have on our slate to finish these grade level curricular brochures that define and give transparency to what it is we're teaching when, and it is an ongoing process that we expect will be completed next fall-ish. And to that end, again, transparency, I knew going in that sometimes districts have definitions of how we're doing and what we are doing, what it looks like. And it had been my intention to create a report, an annual report that defines all of our test scores and reports it out. Eric had seen some work in some other districts that did that and yet took it to another level. Not just how are we doing and what does all of our data say, but what do we have to celebrate and what are our philosophies each building. And let me introduce you to Lynx Elementary School and our philosophies. And let me introduce you to the curriculum philosophy and the things that we're doing and how we frame our professional development, what our summer academy looks like. So when we looked at what we wanted it to include and what it could include and some samples from other districts of what they've been doing, this is what we ended up with was the annual report. And we feel pretty good about what it looks like now and what it's going to continue to look like in the future. A state of the state address with lots of celebrations, and is basically what we came up with for that. Isn't it awesome? Thanks. All right.
Thank you.
I just want you to know that I'm an early morning riser, and I'm thinking about my long drive home, and boy, this is late for me. So, and I know Kelly's a lot longer, but I'm old. I'm sharing with you a couple of goals that the technology department had. This year was the first year that we had a new half-time trainer and also a new technician, and trying to help them into their new roles, and also helping to learn what my new role would be, because it was different having that help here. And it's really been a great experience, to the point where I'm happy that you have approved the idea of John being full-time, because it was definitely a request by staff and everything else. Within that, John and Corey did a lot of training, a lot of small sessions. Middle school and high school, they did monthly training. Middle school was orchestrated during their common prep time. High school was volunteered to come in. We gave topics, they did different things. Having John on board with Infinite Campus, helping teachers not only with gradebook, but learn things. I learned different things about Infinite Campus that teachers didn't know they could do, such as doing Messenger and doing other things that they did not know they could do. And the elementary teachers were really excited about it. Of course, he helped people with web pages, and some of this will start to overlap, because Justin also helped with web pages. That John introduced our teachers to Google Classroom. So instead of just doing Gmail and Drive and sharing things through that, Google Classroom is another way for teachers to share things with students, get things from students, and makes it a much simpler, smoother way than just using Google Drive or those type of things. And happy to say the middle school and high school has really taken off on it, high school more so, and the elementary people are starting to do it. Summer Academy, besides all the neat things Kelly is offering, Summer Academy is wrapped around John and my technicians, that being able to set those things up and all the neat coursework and things like that. Our technician-wise, of course, doing Active Directory or taking care of our servers and putting new people on and that type of thing. Tickets, software support, Promethean boards, and whatever else it takes. And we're a small group, and so we all kind of do that. The neatest thing, it gave Corey Pepler and myself time to do other researches. It gave Andy time to do things on the server that we've been meaning to do. And as I learned, one of my partners in another district is moving on into industry. I finally told him this March, we did everything he did. Because it took me 2 years to get there because we didn't have the time to do it. If you were a parent and you get your health report of your kids this summer, that one that is in English and yours is probably only in English, but if your home family language is a different language, the backside is the other language. That was developed by Andy and the nurses. So it's really neat because we have time to do that. We can't do that in Infant Campus. And so that's really exciting. It's given me more time to do a whole bunch of research and things like that, which takes us to the next goal. Goal 2 is, it's hard to believe, but when Eric started his position, we put new wireless in. It's 5 years old, and we've had our issues and things like that, nothing compared to other districts. I'm happy to report, knock on hardwood, that. But it was time to start looking at it, and because of a federal program called E-rate, we're able to get most of it paid for by the E-rate if it's approved. And so this year, we did a lot of different things where we surveyed the other districts, what they were using. We test drove several solutions, and then we went through submitting the E-rate of the 470, and now the 471, which is E-rate is always just a good time to do paperwork. During the 470, that gives us all different types of quotes. And through the study, it came down to 2 different ones, and I could have lived with either one of them, but we chose to go with Extreme Networks, and the good news for me, at least, is Kerning Consulting won that bid. And so, I told Justin Stewart that someday I put AC in his office, or in his building. That's the new standard for wireless, is AC. I've done my part. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
The business office goal for the 15-16 year was to increase employee and community awareness of fiscal processes and accessibility to business office information. This has been an ongoing goal over the last few years and one that we continue to take great strides in. Post and execute a clearly defined budget development process involving a wide range of stakeholders. Our facilities planning has really been weaved into a process that was pretty stable, that really kind of shaped this process a little differently than it has been in years past, but I think it was a good thing. It brought in different stakeholders and involved them in a different way in the process. Prepare and present the State of the District budget update presentation to all of our municipalities. That again was very well received and is becoming almost an expectation when we go greet them on an annual basis.
I would say it's not almost anymore.
It is an expectation, yes. And the annual report that we presented at the State of the District address was a nice enhancement to our prior presentation. And then updating and increasing the quality and quantity of content on the business services webpage. The employee benefits tab is what led our entire district through our open enrollment period these last 2 weeks. It's not that we have decreased communication, it's that we have more consistent communication. I can direct people to one place to find solutions for a lot of different questions and concerns. So that is our business office goal. I feel we made great progress and we will continue to do so. Any questions?
A collection of data, but as you can see, and I say it all the time, great administrative leadership team, providing outstanding leadership at the buildings and getting really focused at doing what's some good work for students.
All right, personnel. You can take it away.
Okay. The first is, can we do the 2 resignations?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'm recommending that the board accept the resignations of Link second grade teacher Sandy Musiak and middle school Phi Ed teacher Jennifer Galbraith. Both have personal reasons why they're leaving the district to pursue other opportunities.
Move to approve the resignations of the staff as outlined.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Karen?
Stewart?
Yes.
Morris? Yes.
I thought you said Morris, I'm like, huh?
Davis?
Sorry. Yes.
Judd?
Yes.
McCray?
Yes.
Ryan?
And then on the flip side, we have a number of hiring recommendations. Actually, all of these are at the middle school, recommending the hiring of Kala Dellinger for sixth grade, for a sixth grade post. She currently is an LTE with us, and we would like to make her permanent. She did a wonderful job. Ms. Wojciechowicz did conduct an interview of internal candidates, and she would like to extend that offer to her. Is it okay if I just go ahead and do this? The next is Alyssa Reitz. Interestingly enough, she was also an internal candidate. We give student teachers kind of that opportunity to kind of get an inside track. One, they're a known quantity to us. So Ms. Reitz was a student teacher, lost of words there, in 7th grade, and she will be replacing Miss Ahrens, who is retiring at the end of this year. Nicholas B. for an 8th grade social studies teaching position. He also was an LTE for Jennifer Hammerly-Drassic, who was out on maternity leave and who has since decided to continue to raise her children. Nick, again, another internal candidate who thoroughly impressed Ms. Wojciechowicz and the rest of that team. Grace McCauley, who I actually had the pleasure of meeting today, she is not an internal candidate for a special education teaching position. She comes to us from Jefferson, and prior to that worked in I can't remember which district it was, but it was I think up north. Highly recommended from Jefferson. She was one of 26 applicants, and I know that Ms. Wojciechowicz interviewed 4 of those applicants, and Grace rose to the top. And then finally, our Spanish position, would like to offer that position to Jessica Proust. She was one of 9 applicants, 4 interviewed. That is a pretty competitive pool as far as districts are concerned. So I know that Ms. Wojciechowicz was really pleased to be able to secure somebody who has not only a great background in the language, but also became highly recommended. She's a recent UW lacrosse graduate as well.
What would we like?
I would like to make a motion to approve the 5 certified staff as presented for Whitewater Middle School.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Karen?
Morris?
Yes.
Yes. Davis? Yes. Judd?
Yes.
McCray?
Yes.
Ryan? Yes. Stewart?
Yes.
And it's hiring season, so I'm sure we'll have more in the future board meetings. May even sneak some into your study sessions, so be prepared for that. The next is a 66.0301 agreement. And what that is agreement between districts where they will basically share the cost of a particular service. In this particular case, it is for physical therapy. Physical therapy is the last piece of the transfer of service from all of the Walworth County services that we previously contracted with, Walworth County Special Ed. We have the need for a half-time physical therapist in the district. As you may or may not know, PT is a low supply, high demand profession right now, and we would have a very hard time finding a half-time person. So we approached East Troy, who we knew was also looking for a half-time physical therapist, and because of proximity, it made a lot of sense. They were open to it. We posted that position as a full-time, and I'll go into that recommendation later. But prior to hiring a person, the board has to agree to enter into this mutual agreement with East Troy, which I believe is already approved their end of it.
I'll make a motion the board approve PT 660301 agreement between the district and East Troy community for the 2016 school year. 16, 17 school year.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Karen?
Bruner?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Jen?
Yes.
McCray?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Torres?
Yes.
So then that leads into the hiring of the physical therapist. Again, we were really pleased. I know Lenora was pleased to have 2 high-quality candidates. Again, 2, that's it, for a physical therapist. It's just, the pool is very shallow, so we were very happy about getting the 2 that we did get. So we're recommending the hiring of Terry Kanak. Coincidentally, she actually lives in LaGrange, so it's perfectly situated, and she was a stellar applicant. Very experienced physical therapist, and this really meets her personal needs as well as obviously the 2 school districts' needs for having physical therapy services in our district and in East Troy. So again, she was an excellent candidate.
I move we approve the employment of Terry Knapp, 2.5 FTE, physical therapist.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Karen?
Davis?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
McCray?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Torres?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes.
And then the final is, you'll see in your packet, the summer school list of hires. David Brockup has been working on that whole process over the last several weeks and months, and I think he is prepared to have a wonderful program. Keeping our fingers crossed, we actually think we might even see another little uptick in participation. So summer school lunch will again be provided. I think that was a huge hit last year and will draw more students and families.
Can you explain a little bit about the one-on-one paras for summer? I'm not familiar with using them in that setting, that's why.
There are some cases where we have special education students that we have to make up some additional, or maybe they didn't meet their particular goals, or for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's health related, where we need to make up some of that contact time. So we'll provide that during summer school, and in some of those cases they have a one-on-one para, and we'll continue those services into the summer.
I'll make a motion we approve the 2016 summer school contracts as presented.
Second?
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Karen?
Jen?
Yes.
McCray?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Torres? Yes. Bruner?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
All right, do you have a report?
Just very quickly, end of the school year is quickly coming upon us here, and lots of end of the year activities. Just 3 wanted to make special note of. 8th grade recognition was this past Friday, a wonderful event, and followed by the typical 8th grade rec dance. Graduation it's Sunday, June 5th at 2 p.m. and scholarship night is this Wednesday evening. So both kind of wonderful events to celebrate our students, particularly the ones leaving us and going on to lots of post-secondary options. Couple other things. Post-prom occurred earlier this month and was a huge success that was brought back by a couple of parents. We had over 100 students participate.
I heard that from the kids too.
Everyone walked away with some kind of prize.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of cute because I think the hardest part for the kids was staying awake till 4 in the morning. Which was, kids were begging to go home to go to bed. But they couldn't be part of the raffle if they didn't stay. Sage Babcock, who is a current junior, won the big grand prize, the scooter. So congratulations to her. And finally, the high school spring sports are entering postseason. We had the regional track meet up at the high school this evening. Baseball, softball start soon. Baseball, make note of, they got a 2 seed and are really well positioned to make a run. Girls soccer starts their postseason next week, I believe. Golf also, and tennis had their subsectionals today, and I think we had a number of students advance to sectional matches Wednesday. So lots of postseason activity going on. If you're interested in any of those sports, I'd encourage you to go because there's going to be some great competition. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Yeager.
What I have is short and sweet.
We like that.
More a matter of practice than anything. At the end of the year, or as we near the end of the year, one element of managing the budget is presenting budget amendments. If you were to round these amendments up to the 6-digit function code, they'd be relatively immaterial. If you break them down into a little bit more detail, there's a little bit more of a story to be told. In your board notes, the one item that I did want to point out was the transfer between, and it's still within the 200 function code, 200,000 function code, but between business administration and other support services, so the 250,000 function and the 290. You can see here that's the only place where there's a significant transfer. The business administration will be primarily utilities. This is a year in which obviously it was a very mild winter. We just got done with a ton of facility improvements, all related to energy improvement, and it was an area where we were conservatively budgeted, and we did see the savings that we were hoping for. This is also a year in which we've changed our other post-employment benefit policy and how we pay that out. So we have an opportunity to pay down an unfunded liability in a year in which our utilities are down, so it worked out very well. And hopefully presenting a balanced budget to you when our year-end audit is presented. These will be published. The deadline used to be within 10 days after approval. I think they pushed that back a bit, but we'll get them published for our community to see right away. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2015-16 budget amendments as presented.
Motion and a second. If there were no questions. Karen?
McCray?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Stewart? Yes. Torres?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Judd?
Yes.
Thank you, Nate.
Yes, as usual. Next up, the consent agenda, which includes the minutes approval of the regular meeting April 25th, the special meeting April 27th, committee meetings May 4th and May 17th, voucher approval, second reading of the policies as listed, renewal of agreement with Fort Healthcare, 16-17 CISA 2 contract approval, and carpet replacement in the Whitewater High School classrooms. So, any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, the consent agenda is passed. Unfinished business? I don't think we have any. Anybody? New business? The handbook?
Sure. So we held the employee handbook committee meeting last Monday. Annually, as you might recall, since we've gone to an employee handbook, we try to meet every spring. If there are revisions administratively, we had a handful of just minor tweaks and revision recommendations. In addition, this time we also looked at the additive schedule. The additive schedule, which is how we pay our coaches, advisors, etc., has not been reviewed in a long time, right, Nate? I mean, probably since I've been here, so that's at least 10 years. And so we are recommending an adjustment to the base, which is what the additive schedule is factored off or calculated off of. It was previously $23,005, and our recommendation is to move it up to $26,000, which would increase all of the additives. It does not put us above the average when we were looking at coaches, or it puts us close to the average when we're looking at what coaches are paid within our conference. In many of the categories, we were at the bottom or just above the bottom. So it makes us a little more competitive as far as what we're compensating coaches in the upcoming school year. Employee handbook revisions, Nate, remind me what some of them were.
A lot of clarification of
Yeah.
no major changes
Right.
worth noting.
And at the committee meeting, representation from both support staff and the certified staff were in attendance, and I think everyone was receptive to what the revision recommendations were.
Jim or Steve have
Yeah, I was going to say
anything
Mr.
to-
Stewart and Mr. Ryan were there.
I think the additive schedule, it's a good idea. I think next year, I think we should have a more formal look at the additive schedule, not only in athletics, but also the academic side of the house. And I think that's going to happen.
Yep.
The only other question that came up was perhaps studying overload compensation. Anybody that has overload class.
So, I guess they're on the calendar for next year.
It's got them on the list.
So what's the board's pleasure?
I move we approve the employee handbook and additive schedule revisions as presented.
And I think I'll schedule. I'll second schedule.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Karen?
Ryan?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Torres?
Yes.
Brenner?
I'm going to abstain. There's a chance my wife is on this or would be on this list at some point.
Davis?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Next, we have the first reading of the policies as listed there. I can't help you, but anybody on the policy review committee have anything to say about those?
It's all
Yeah.
prosthetic.
A lot of just tweaking of updating the language.
I think we pulled one, so for a little more work, but that's it.
We missed you, Casey.
Yeah, I would have pulled that one too, but anyway.
Make a motion to approve, right?
Yes.
To approve the reading of policy as presented. First reading.
We have a motion and a second. Karen?
Stewart?
Yes.
Torres?
Yes.
Brenner?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
All right, next is board communications. Mr. Stewart, you have something?
Yes. Pass this around. If you bear with me for 5 minutes, I attended a conference on teacher shortage and doing things for teachers. And I'm only going to take about 2 or 3 minutes. What I'd like to do is, it was a DPI, and I fully expected a full room, and it turned out 3 people were there. 2 administrators, and I mentioned one of the administrators, and 1 board member. And that was throughout the state that we're having that kind of attendance at it. To me, this is going to be a big issue for us in the future as board members dealing with this. And the basic thing was just, it was mentioned a couple of times tonight, the goals for the new district administrator, attract and retain high-quality staff. If you go to the first page there, I put a little notice in there about who it was and who conducted it. And then I thought I'd put down the recruiting and hiring of teacher strategies. And if you notice, there are all kinds of real things that were happening throughout the state. And the one that really kind of gets to me and gets to others, there's an awful lot of people fishing in our pond, so to speak. They're going for, and it's not so much the district administrators, it's principals, and going for teachers and that sort of thing. Somehow, I think that has to be addressed either at the administrative level, state level, or someplace, to cut some kind of ethics involved in how we relate to doing that. And I don't know if we're doing it, but
No, we wouldn't do that.
No, well, to be honest, I mean, we've been on the receiving end of that, and
Right.
so administratively, we've talked about that. It's different if somebody applies, I mean, or their teaching counterparts
Right.
talk to each other, and we're also much more sensitive about it when it occurs. You know, if it's this time of year where people, it's kind of the hiring season, but when it's close to the start of the school, we have not been doing that.
But there are a lot of, it was stated that there are a lot of administrators that are familiar with this and are paying extra $6,000 for an ag teacher, bonus signing and that sort of thing. We don't have that in our policy to even address anything like that. And I don't know, sometime we might have to. and it's going to be a surprise, and we have to worry about the staff what we have and whether we're going to do it. The next page is retaining teachers, and it's interesting, the items that districts are taking for retention. There are a lot of good samples there, and I marked 3 of them, like offering salary incentives, offering benefits and incentives over the above. And then, interesting, imposing liquidated damages. And yet, you notice that in the other charts, liquidating damages are paid by the district that the person goes to. And what does that gain for the boards? Not much. And then the last page, I took, by the way, there are, the sampling of this study was done by DPI, and it's many, many pages, many, many content areas. It's not on their webpage, but it wasn't today anyway. But they said it will be out this week sometime, and so it will be there. Plus, they'll be doing a lot of study on how to approach this. If the legislature sees this, I'm afraid we're going to get something like what happened with let's do content area, let's take competency for teachers and have them change their license in order to do that. And if you notice, several districts are doing that now. There were 100 technology education teachers, 100 of them last year. They went out to find them, okay? If you notice that 49 of them had a little bit of a problem hiring them, but the rest of them, there were multiple reasons why they were having difficulty, what they had to do to hire a tech ed person. And licensing, emergency licensing, we did that as a school district. We had an emergency license.
Well, we had
others. Yeah. But anyway, I thought it was an interesting study, and I think it's going to, even though there were just 3 people there, I think it's going to grow, and it's going to be a little seed. And I think sometime in the next couple of months, something will be out, and that we may be talking at policy, something in our policies to at least protect our system that we have. That's all.
And it's a growing trend. I mean, it's not just Wisconsin, it's a national trend. You're seeing shortages.
I know, but somebody has to do something to light the way as to how we are dealing with this. I've heard so many times it's the market that's driven. Well, we have not been in that kind of mode in the market, but we now are. And we're going to have to deal with it, I think.
I can tell you from the School Administrators Alliance, we're going to push the legislators to look at the teacher pipeline in particular. And it's not just about easing licensing restrictions, it's about how do you get more of your best and brightest to get into the profession, because the pool is getting shallower.
Right. I'm sorry, it took a little longer to figure out that. Just wanted to at least approach it. There was another meeting I went to, and that was the CISA 2 organizational meeting. It hasn't changed in 30 years. So it went on fine, and they missed her. They missed Gretchen, and they were wondering who the hell's he, you know. But anyway, I'm sure they had.
Thank you for doing that.
All right, thanks, Tim. Kelly, do you have a legislative report? Okay, board engagement opportunities. Karen has compiled a nice list of activities for you all to participate in. And that's all we have.
Thanks for doing that, Karen.
So,
Move to adjourn.
thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.